So today we're learning about CFNC.org, and we're so glad that you're able to join us so we can just talk to you a little bit about all the great tools that we have on CFNC.org, sort of at any point in your life and in your school journey. So we're really excited you could join us, and I'm gonna introduce our presenters in a moment. But first, I wanted to make sure that you all know who your Bell advisor is. Some of them are actually on here right now, which is good. So you can always, give them a hey in the chat if you want to. Hopefully you've already talked to your advisor, but I know it's been a strange time this year. So if you at least need a reminder of what they look like, these are their pictures. We're from throughout the state, and we're so happy to work with our Bell scholars. So definitely, if you haven't talked to your Bell advisor, give them a shout. I know they'd love to hear from you. And today's presenters, my name is Devin McCarthy James. I am in the 828 West region out of Asheville. And so I am a Bell advisor for students out here all the way out west to Cherokee County. Skip, did you want to introduce yourself?
Yes, thanks, Devin. I'm Skip Watts. I've been working with CFNC for a little over 10 years now. I accompany Devin on the western part of the state, but I work kind of in the northern part of the western part of North Carolina. So I handle the area from Boone roughly down to Columbus or Tryon. And I'm blessed to be here tonight working with you guys. Thank you for your attendance. I'm going to turn it over to Juanes real quick.
Well, hello, buenas noches. My name is Juanes Ramirez. I'm delighted to be here today. I'm representing Spanish Services. And so my colleague Juana Hernandez and myself work with the Spanish-speaking families across the state. So delighted to be here today. Thank you for joining us.
Awesome. Thanks, guys. So this is just a little overview of some of the things that we're going to talk about so you know where we're headed. Our goal today is to learn about all the really great CFNC tools that you can use for exploring your options, planning your future, applying to college, finding scholarships, and some other things that we'll talk about along the way. But those are kind of the big themes of what we're going to try and show you. We were going to show you a video from one of our awesome Bell scholars who's graduated high school and is actually currently at school at UNC Chapel Hill. She had some really great words of wisdom and tips for students who are following in her footsteps as Bell scholars. But unfortunately, we could not get the video to play without some kind of lag, but you should be able to view it if we put it in the chat. So we're going to go ahead and put that in the chat. So you can feel free to copy that and put that in your browser so that you can watch that at another time, because I promise you it is incredible. So without further ado, I'm going to hand over the reins to my colleague Juanes Ramirez, and he's going to talk a little bit about some opportunities that are coming up and our Espanol, all the things Spanish services that we offer.
Thank you, Devin. Well, you guys are in for such a treat to learn about CFNC.org and all the tools and resources that CFNC offers. I am excited to share with you guys that CFNC really cares about our Spanish-speaking families, and we want to do the best we can to try to assist our families. So if you are a family that needs Spanish-speaking Spanish resources, or if you are a counselor that you advise Spanish-speaking families, so I want to share with you today that CFNC.org has a section designed to assist our Spanish-speaking families. That section, it's a little bit different than the rest of the website because the section is designed to provide the information that families need. So there's information for the parents, there's information for the student on how to pay, apply, and even find colleges. So in addition, we also going to be in the near future, our entire website will be available to you in Spanish as well. So we're super thrilled about that. We are going to have a similar session like this coming up next week. I believe it's March 25th. Let me make sure my schedule. March 25th at 6 o'clock, we're going to have this similar section in Espanol. So if you are interested or you have friends that are interested in just learning about CFNC and all of the things that you're gonna be learning today, you can go to cfnc.org/events to register for that event. So thank you, Devin and Skip, for the time.
Thank you, Juanes. All right, I'm going to take it from here. And again, I appreciate everybody's time and energy tonight. I'm going to try to be concise, but I'm going to try to cover a lot of information. So forgive me if I talk fast. I've got a lot to cover, and I know it's getting close to dinner time, and I know a lot of you guys are probably interested in getting done with your day. So with all that said, I'm going to show you how you can navigate certain aspects of CFNC. But to start with, I want to point out that if you have yet to create a CFNC account, it's going to be extremely helpful in the near future for any Bell Award winner to have a CFNC account. So with that said, I'm currently logged in to my CFNC account. But if I were not logged into my CFNC account, up in the upper right-hand corner, there would be an option where I could create a CFNC account. So just to demonstrate that, I'm going to log out, and it might take just a second for a delay. And once I'm logged out of CFNC, I'll just show you briefly how you can create that CFNC account if you have yet to do so. Then I'm going to dive into other aspects of CFNC that start with the plan side of the website and the pay side of the website. And I'll follow up with the pay side after Devin talks a little bit about some different aspects of the website. Now, if I were to log into CFNC and I'd already created an account, I could simply click the login option in the upper right-hand corner. Or if I needed to create my CFNC account, I could also do that by clicking on this login option in the upper right-hand corner. So I'm going to go ahead and sign in. But again, if I wanted to create a new account, I have that option down here. I'm going to sign in. And from here, I'm going to jump directly into how I like to navigate CFNC. I'm going to talk a little bit about the plan for your future side of the website. So you can navigate CFNC through these tabs at the top of the screen. I prefer to navigate up there. It's just how I've gotten used to using the website. I also want to point out the Spanish tools that Juanes just mentioned are up here in the En Español section of the website. So if you're interested in taking a look at those, I think that's an extremely valuable component within the suite of tools. You can also navigate CFNC through this carousel down towards the bottom of the screen, and then you can actually drill down and go specifically to certain parts of the website. But again, for today's purposes, I'm going to simply use these tabs at the top of the screen, and I'm going to click Plan Your Future, because my goal today is to help you guys understand how you can best utilize these tools so that you can, number one, graduate quickly, but also meet all the educational expectations associated with the Bell Scholarship. So from this Plan Your Future page, I've got a quote by Ray Bradbury here. If I scroll past that quote, I've got a timeline. And this timeline is designed to give specific information to students that are of different ages. So I noticed we had some current 8th graders in here, and we had a 7th grader or two that was actually signed up. I'm not sure if they're actually in attendance. But if a 7th grader wanted to know what they could do next year as an 8th grader to be prepared for college, we have all the links on CFNC that they can access. They can consider their high school course options and maybe consider some career and college promise courses. They might have some opportunities to save in addition to that Victor E. Bell Scholarship if they choose to. They've also got some links to our different career assessments. Now, I should also point out that we have some current 8th graders on the call today. They're moving into their 9th grade year, so of course they can access important information about that 9th grade year here. We also have some current 11th graders, and they're going to soon be seniors where they're going to have to start thinking seriously about the financial aid process, which I'll talk more in depth about in just a few minutes. But before I go there, I'm going to scroll down just a little bit past that timeline because there's some other tools that I want to talk quickly about while I have your attention. So I like to access the Plan for Your Future tools in this card on the left-hand side of the Plan Your Future page on CFNC. To start with, I'm going to click Plan for College because, Plan for a Career, because I believe that all students going towards college should have some mindset of what their career goals are. I think that's just a way you can expedite your studies and you're not bouncing around from major to major when you're at the university. So from this part of the website, we've got some assessments that are free on CFNC, as are all the tools I mentioned today. They're all free. We've got some categories. So if we have a student that's really proactively minded, knows they want to maybe be a veterinarian or a nurse, they can go specifically to those careers and do some research on how much those individuals get paid and how much education is required to enter the workforce. We've also got this really awesome game called the Reality Check, and I encourage all students at all levels that I'm working with tonight to take advantage of the Reality Check. It just helps you identify the cost associated with being an adult in this world that we live in. I've also got links to Know Before You Go. These are jobs that are in demand in North Carolina. I've got some planning resources, which also include our financial literacy program, which I think is increasingly important for every student in high school to take so that they're aware of what the real world is gonna have for them. And then we've got some contact information. But before I go into any college related information, I want to go up here and click on Learn About Yourself, because I think there's some extremely valuable tools for all attendees tonight. So as soon as this page loads, it's going to offer me the opportunity to take a bunch of career assessments so that I can identify how my skills and how my interests relate to different jobs across the country and across the state of North Carolina. Our hope is that students can identify those possible career goals early so they can start gearing their academics towards finding that job as quickly as they can. So if I drop from this Learn About Yourself page, I've got all kinds of interest assessments, and I love for 8th and 9th graders to consider taking this interest profiler. I think it's a wonderful opportunity for that grade level to really start thinking about Holland codes and how those Holland codes can help them identify cool jobs. I might even roll back to that in just a second, but I should also point out I've got a career cluster survey, which in a way offers additional information on top of what that interest profiler does. I've got a basic skills survey, a transferable skills checklist. This is for individuals that are maybe transferring from one career to another, so maybe they're already in the workforce. We've got a work value sorter, a career key, and then if you really want to dive in depth and really start thinking about how your personality relates to the workforce, I would recommend this Do What You Are assessment. It takes a little bit more time, but it is really detail oriented, and I love the way it directs students. We've also got a learning styles inventory, which I think, of course, is extremely valuable as well. But for time's sake, I'm just going to call attention to the interest profiler because I noticed that we had several 8th and 9th graders on this call. So I'm going to click the interest profiler. I'm going to scroll down to an attempt that I made several years ago. And when I took this assessment, I had to answer like 180 questions, and I answered honestly from my gut. In other words, I didn't let family or friends or peers interfere with how I answered the questions that were in front of me. And when I completed the assessment, I received Holland code scores, which essentially are kind of like strong points in my personality. For example, my top interest area ranking was social. And if I want to find jobs that people that are really helpful or helper oriented would work well in, I can drop down and view careers related to this interest area. Now from here, I've got all kinds of different jobs. If I had a stronger stomach, I could maybe be an acupuncturist or an acute care nurse, but in all actuality, I can't deal with blood or bodily fluids, even my own, so I need to probably gear my way in a different direction. So this adaptive physical education specialist might be something I would consider, and if I wanted to explore that occupation, I could simply click on the highlighted area, and as soon as this page loads, it's going to give me all kinds of little tidbits that might help influence me towards one career or another. So I can drop down and see how much a person within this career field makes typically. I can see how much they start at and how much they exit the workforce making. If I drop down a little further, I've got employment statistics and information about the level of education an individual has to have to get into this opportunity. And if I'm so inclined, I can even explore campuses that may have this specific program of study. So I'm going to click on Explore Campuses because it's a quick way for me to explore jobs that might have that, or colleges that have that adaptive physical education program. So as CFNC's loading, I also want to point out that we've got some other filters over here on the left. So if maybe the adaptive physical education specialist isn't exactly what you want to do, you can always drop down and find other programs and majors by simply clicking that drop down menu. Okay, but for today's purposes, we're looking at that adaptive PE teacher. If I wanted to explore private school like Bennett, I could check that out in Greensboro. I've got another option here in Wilson, which in my opinion is the barbecue capital of the world. I've got Catawba College. I've got some community colleges where I can start my training for that eventual 4-year baccalaureate degree or bachelor's degree. My point here is if a student finds a school that they're really interested in, they can highlight that specific school and they can find all kinds of relevant data associated with attending that specific institution. So as this page loads, I can find images of Catawba College. I can find out information about how much it costs, what kind of grades I have to be accepted into Catawba College. I potentially could be recruited to Catawba College, and I can actually apply to Catawba College through CFNC. So again, I encourage students to really take advantage of these tools. It's a really robust suite of planning tools that in my mind, aren't offered in such a complimentary way anywhere else. So I appreciate your time and attention. I try to be concise, but there's just so much information to convey. So with that said, I'm going to turn it over to my colleague Devin and let her talk about some other components within the CFNC suite of tools.
Awesome. Thanks, Skip. I'm gonna try and take over the screen here. Let's see if I can get that going. All right. So I took you back to this home screen. It's really a good place to start. Whenever you want to just come back to the home screen and start again, you can always click on the CFNC logo in the top left-hand side. I find it really helpful to kind of get to home base and then dive back in other places. I wanted to talk to you about a couple of things. The first thing is that Skip was showing you some really great stuff in the plan section. And as you're finding those careers that you're really interested in, those majors that you're interested in, those colleges that you might be interested in, there's always going to be these little save options, these save buttons. And that is a really cool feature because it allows you to use the system one time, use the site at one time, and then save where you're at and come back another time, and you still have all that information. So I'm going to show you right up here on the right-hand side on the top, there's my dashboard. So I'm already logged in. So you're going to need to have your account in order to use the dashboard. But I'm going to go ahead and click on it just to show you some stuff that's in there. Let's see here. All right. And so it's going to save things that you've done in college and career. So I'm going to start with career since Skip was showing us all these really cool things in the plan for a career section first. So you can see I've got some self-assessments in progress. So I can click back to those to see where I'm at and continue those, or I can click on one that I've completed just to see what my results were. I've also got some saved careers. It gives you little fast facts about those in terms of what kind of education I would need if I wanted to pursue that degree or pursue that career, and what my salary might be if I did go into that field. So I've got a bunch more saved, as you can see. And it's even got a little helpful checklist of things that you might want to do if you're looking for a job. And you can kind of explore, go back in and explore careers from here. So it's a really cool option to kind of go into your dashboard, see where you've gone, and see maybe some options that you haven't explored yet. I'm also going to show you this My College Plan. In a minute, I'm going to show you a little bit of the Apply to College section. But I wanted to start here because if you explored your careers and found some programs at some colleges that you saved, you can kind of go to your dashboard and actually start from there with the colleges that you've saved to go back in and look at those colleges or start applications, things like that. We also have transcripts. I'm going to show you that in a second that you can send and you can keep track of it on this dashboard. And these are some saved programs that I have been interested in over the past several months and I want to come back to. So I think it's a really cool feature that we have this dashboard where it saves everything that you've done so you can kind of come back to it. So I'm going to just show you a little bit of the Apply to College section. And I will say that I know some of you that you're not quite there yet, but it just never hurts to have a little bit of an idea of where you're headed and to know that this is there for you when you need it. So we're not going to go too in depth. I'm just going to show you some of the bells and whistles and some of the things that you can do on CFNC when you get to that point. So you can see when you click on applying to college, there's a number of cards here that give you all sorts of information for doing different things. The main thing that you're probably going to look at is this application hub. And you can see there's actually a big orange button on this side too, or you can find it on this left-hand side navigation. The reason that it's also over here is because it's a very common place that students go to on our site. So if you click on it, it'll take you to where you can start an application to any of the 110 colleges in North Carolina, whether it's a public school, a private school, in terms of 4 years, or it could be a community college. All community college applications are on here as well. And so you can see I've kind of started some mock university and college applications. I can't complete them because I'm not actually applying, but just to show you an example, I've started these ones. It's really easy to start an application when you click here and it'll come up. And once you put it in this main area, you can fill out the application, or you can actually request a transcript. If anybody who goes to a public high school in North Carolina can send transcripts, that record of all your grades and your classes and all that good stuff, to North Carolina colleges for free. And that's really cool. That's a great opportunity, especially because once you send it through CFNC, you can actually view what's been sent. And it'll also put in queue a final transcript to go to that college as well. I'm going to go back to that apply to college page just to show you a couple other things that are going to be useful in the college journey. So we have residency determination here. I'm not going to go too far into that, but just know that if you're applying to be considered a North Carolina resident for in-state tuition, which you may be aware is more affordable than out-of-state tuition, so I highly recommend it if you can get it. If you're going to do that, that's actually through the CFNC site, so it's on here. But one really cool spot to definitely check out once you get to this place is to look at this Countdown to College page. Countdown to College happens in North Carolina in October. It's a month of opportunities for you to get help filling out your college applications, applying for financial aid. There's all sorts of events that happen at local schools, in the community to just sort of support students as they go through this process. And one big thing that I always like to make sure people know is that there's 1 week in October every year. Okay, so regardless of when you're going to hit senior year, every year we have 1 week in October where there's a bunch of North Carolina colleges that waive their application fees. So you can apply to college for free, which is really great. So this is definitely something to bookmark when you get to that point of I'm ready to apply to college and start that process. And then the last thing I'm just going to highlight is that we have a bunch of college application resources. And what's nice about that is if you're just not even sure where to start, there's some things here that can help you with that. So even if you're, in ninth grade and you're just like, I just want a preview of what to expect, you can complete a practice application. It doesn't go anywhere. It doesn't, do anything, but it might just give you a sense of what are you going to need to provide when you start to get to that place. We also have lists of admissions deadlines to help students with applying to colleges in North Carolina. And one thing I really like is this college application frequently asked questions list. It doesn't look that exciting, but I promise you it has a lot of really great commonly asked questions. It's a nice thing when you start the process to just kind of look through these questions and see, is there something, oh wait, I don't know what that means. Maybe I should click that. Especially, this when do I apply? It tells you the different kinds of timelines for applying for college, things like that. Sometimes people don't know what they don't know yet. And so this can be a really cool frequently asked questions page to kind of look through when you're at the beginning of the process before you even have those questions. All right, and so those are some key things in the apply section. And with that, I'm going to pass it back over to my colleague Skip so he can talk a little bit more about the pay area of the website.
Great, thanks, Devin. I love that quote. Sometimes you don't know what you don't know. So as this page is loading up, I'm going to talk specifically about the pay for college side of the website. It's my favorite part of the website because that's where students can find all kinds of relevant financial aid information. And some of our younger students in attendance might be thinking financial aid sounds kind of scary. Financial aid is 3 things, guys. It's student loans, which I want you to minimize, and the VE Bell Scholarship is going to really help with that. It's also scholarships and grants, which I think are exceedingly important. That's free dollars to help you pay for college. And it also includes work study or part-time work. I encourage students that aren't, a varsity athlete or first chair in the band to consider working part-time while they're in college. So with all that in mind, let's talk a little bit about financial aid. I'm going to stick mainly to the scholarship and grant side of the website, but I did notice that we have some 11th graders in attendance tonight, and so I do need to put out some specific dates and deadlines for your 12th grade year so that you'll just kind of know what's up. So scrolling down from this Benjamin Franklin quote, which again is in the pay for college side of the website, if I scroll down a little bit further, I can find all kinds of helpful tools in this left-hand card. Okay, to start with, I can start learning about the FAFSA. The FAFSA is the free application for federal student aid. Okay, it's something that 12th graders need to do in October, November, or December of their 12th grade year to maximize eligibility for grant programs like the Pell Grant or other opportunities, maybe like the North Carolina Education Lottery Scholarship. A lot of those programs are time sensitive, students. So if you were making notes or if you just want to, make a mental note, 11th graders next year as a 12th grader, you need to complete that FAFSA, and that opening date starts October 1st. So you can get it done quickly and easily and get it out of your mind for the rest of your senior year. And again, that makes you eligible for grants and scholarships. Okay, grants are often dollars that come from a governmental institution or a governmental entity like the federal government. And after completing the FAFSA, some students are made eligible for grants like the Pell Grant. Okay, the Pell Grant can be worth more than $6,000. It's really dependent on your family's finances. Okay, at a certain point, when your family exhausts eligibility for a Pell Grant in North Carolina, there's other programs like the Education Lottery Scholarship. And I guess what I'm driving at here is that it's really helpful for students to complete that FAFSA so they can find additional grant and scholarship opportunities in addition to the VE Bell Scholarship. Now from here, I can also do a scholarship search, which I'm going to roll back around to because that's the most important part of the Pay for College side of the website. But I also want to point out I've got some information on work study, which is an opportunity for students to get a job on their college campus, which is afforded through the federal government. And then I've got all kinds of other college financing resources down here. But for time's sake, I'm going to go up here to the scholarship search because I think all in attendance can really benefit from the scholarship search, even if you're just an 8th grader or a 9th grader. It's helpful to start identifying scholarships that you're eligible for and then maintaining that eligibility. I'm speaking specifically towards keeping your grades up, students. Many of these scholarships are merit-based on CFNC, which means they're based on a special characteristic. That could be your age, your ethnicity, your gender, but oftentimes it's your grades that can identify you as a possible eligible participant in these scholarship programs. So if I scroll down, I've got a ton of scholarships that are just kind of all over the place. So I like for students to try to maximize their research time and try to use some of the filters on the left-hand side of the screen to identify scholarships that are uniquely available to them. So you can pick the county that you live in. For example, I can pick Alexander County. I don't think I have any Alexander County students in attendance, but if I were to, these are scholarships that Alexander County students can look into. If I wanted to identify scholarships just for community colleges or just for public 4-year institutions or 4-year private schools or whatever, I can just identify scholarships within those different institutional types. I can pick scholarships for students that are just North Carolina residents, maybe some that require U.S. citizenship. I can go by deadline date. I just want to point out, students, that there are a plethora of scholarships on CFNC, all of which are free to access, as all scholarships should be. So speaking specifically to the 11th graders in attendance, I think it would be really helpful if you started to identify some scholarships that you're eligible for in combination with the VE Bell opportunity. Because if you take advantage of multiple scholarships, you might not have to borrow any, or your parents might not have to pay out of pocket, or you, for example, have to pay out of pocket to go to college. So I encourage all students to just start diving into the details on these scholarships, recording opportunities they're eligible for, maybe in a spreadsheet, and then making sure they hit those deadlines. The deadlines associated with these scholarships are really important and they are firm. So again, take advantage of the tools on CFNC. They're all there specifically for you as North Carolina residents. I appreciate your time and your energy tonight. If you ever have any questions, you can always reach out to CFNC through our 800 number, which is on the Contact Us page on CFNC. So again, feel free to reach out to us for assistance. And thank you again for your time and your energy this evening. I'm going to turn it back over to my colleague, Devin, to close us out this evening.
Awesome. Thanks, Skip. I love all the stuff that you talked about, especially when you talk about scholarships. You get so excited about it, and I love hearing you talk about getting free money for students. That's my favorite part. So if you do have questions, yes, of course, reach out to your Bell advisors. We love hearing from you. We love helping you however we can. There's obviously a lot of resources on CFNC itself that you can use. Or you can reach out if you want to talk to some of the technical aspects of the Bell Scholarship. You can always email the specific Bell Scholarship email. But usually we're your first point of contact. You can always ask the advisor. We'll find the answer for you. Also, just follow us on social media. Connect with us there. We put out a lot of good stuff. These are the general social media sites for College Foundation, but we each have handles that are name specific. So I'm Devin. So I'm Devin at CFNC on Facebook and Instagram. Skip is Skip at CFNC on Facebook and Instagram. So you can find all of us sort of around for you to connect with. Lastly, I did want to put, I know that we had trouble with the video for Zion earlier, so we put Zian's video in there, but we also have this really lovely video from another Bell Scholar who's in college. This student's at NC State, and he has some really great advice, particularly I think that for those students who are in 11th grade who could really benefit from some of his advice. I think anybody could benefit, but in particular, he talks about the FAFSA and some of the things that you really need to pay attention to as you start to go into that college process. So I put that link also in the chat, so you can definitely check that out if you want to. I highly recommend it. So with that, is there anything else we need to share, Skip, before we sign off for the evening, or do we have any questions in the chat?
Devin, I'm also including the CFNC YouTube page because there's a lot of really good videos in there as well. So that's in the chat. And guys, if you have questions, just go ahead and put those in the chat right now. Or again, feel free to reach out to your individual regional rep. There's 7 of us and our 2 Spanish language specialists. So there is a lot of help out here across the state to make sure that you both understand CFNC, but more importantly, the Victor eval process. So don't hesitate to reach out to us.
Any questions that we can answer? All right. Well, like again, if you think of something later, because sometimes this stuff processes and then right after we sign off, you think, oh gosh, I should have asked this thing. You can always reach out to us. You know where to find us. We really appreciate your time and energy and spending this time to learn a little bit more about CFNC. And we will say good night. Have a great night. Have a good dinner. Have a great night.